Hello ratbags, it's Jade. Welcome to a 10 things in 10 minutes you need to know about Subnautica Below Zero. The original Subnautica has been in my top 3 survival games the last 3 years running, and now I'm hoping the sequel might even just replace it. So today I'm going to give you them 10 things you need to know in 10 minutes, all taken from footage from trailers so you won't find too many heavy spoilers, as I give you the info and the breakdown of what's different from the first game, as well as new stuff, even if you're new or an old player. So please make sure you like, make sure to subscribe for the best in survival games news and opinion. Let's go. So the sequel is going to be out on the 14th of May on all platforms. It's going to be arriving on Nintendo Switch, and for the first time Switch players will also be able to play the original Subnautica game. Below Zero is going to be out on Xbox, PlayStation as well as next gen consoles including the PlayStation 5, with nice big chunky upgrades if you own some of them systems. It looks likely that you will be able to upgrade for free as well in the future if you do pick it up on an older gen console, and yeah, on the Switch it'll be the first time that either game has appeared, and it's looking pretty good as I've got review code for it already. The game is $29.99 on Steam, expect it to be around the same sort of price on Xbox and PlayStation 2. The first game has sold millions and it's been on offer at various different platforms, either on Games Pass or part of PlayStation at home, as well as free on the Epic Games Store, so a lot of you guys will be familiar with how Subnautica plays, but for sure Below Zero does add a bunch of new mechanics and features. It's going to be coming out of early access where it has been for the last 2 years, as I mentioned, on PC, and there's a load of content still to come into it, including obviously the ending. So that's something older players are definitely going to be looking forward to, finally seeing how this sequel ends. But what kind of game is Subnautica Below Zero? Well, this and the original are both single player games. They have toyed around in the past trying to experiment adding maybe multiplayer support in the original, but felt that it was best served as a single player experience, much to many fans' discontent. Below Zero is still going with that. It is a single player survival game. You will be needing to get food, water and obviously worry about your oxygen levels, and with Below Zero they add the new mechanic of worrying about the cold. Below Zero, much like the original, is meant to be a kind of non-violent game. There are some jump scares and there are items that you can use to ward off creatures, but you're not going to be blowing away anything with harpoon guns or big massive shotties. I genuinely get scared when exploring some of the darker, deeper places in this game, so it can be a little bit frightening, just FYI. There are different game modes though. If you like it a little bit easier, you can turn off the need for food and water, or you can go completely creative and build to your heart's content, or if you like things a little bit harder, they do have a hardcore mode where you only get 1 life and that's it, you'll have to restart. So Below Zero started out as a original biome that was going to be put into the main game of Subnautica, but I ended up cutting it and realising they had a decent story already and they maybe didn't have enough time to put this in. Then they said they maybe would make it into a DLC before finally settling on a standalone game, before finally calling it what it is, a full-blown sequel. They spent extra time developing it. They were originally going to release it 1 year after being in early access, but they decided to flesh it out more, add even more story than they originally planned, and they did a bunch of work. Now of course the COVID situation interrupted some of that, and so they ended up having to recast a bunch of the characters as well as do extensive rewrites after feedback from the early access launch that said the story just wasn't grabbing them in the right way. So of course that cold environment is a big new factor. You will have to worry about some of the temperatures as you explore the icy tundra as well as the watery depths. Alongside that though does come a bunch of brand new creatures, new enemies and new gadgets and new gizmos. These have all been added during early access, toyed with, tested and got a lot of feedback from a big hardcore fan base on PC who have rated Below Zero nearly as good as the original. Now a huge change from the first one is much more focused on the story. Planet 4546b of course is where we're returning, but it's a complete standalone experience. You don't need to have played the first one at all. But a brief summary, the first game had you crash landing on the planet and trying to survive as you uncover the history of Altera, a big corporation that have had seemingly expeditions on this planet trying to uncover some sort of mystery to do with architects, an alien race that may have controlled or lived on this planet. But now we're in a different part of the world and you are a new character. You are Robin and you are looking after information about what happened to your sister Sam. You've been told she died on this planet while conducting research for Altera, and you've got to find out exactly what happened. Now this is a big change. During the early access first stages, your sister was alive and well, and something happened along the way. So it does look like things have been mixed up a bit, and we'll have to see whether or not your sister really is brown bread and food for the fishes. Alongside that though, there's a bunch of colourful cast characters and new NPCs. A mysterious woman who looks like she's been around on this planet a long time, and of course the alien AI. This is going to be a massive factor of the game, keeping you companionship and maybe putting you in the right direction. But is the AI exactly what it seems? Now of course with the brand new game, we've got brand new ways to explore, as well as a whole host of new items. One major change is getting rid of the sea moth and replacing it with the sea truck. In fact, they've got rid of the Cyclops too, so if you're looking forward to jumping in your submarine once more, think again. The sea truck is a kind of hybrid of the two. In this little version, it performs and moves pretty much just like the sea moth from the first game, but when you start adding modules to it, you can actually increase its length, adding a whole host of upgrades to your vehicle. Add aquariums and a lot more. It's meant to be the kind of submarine without it actually being a submarine. Simply line up the pods once you found the blueprints and then go ahead and construct and craft, and there you start building your sea truck. Of course, that's not the only new vehicle. Now you're running around on some icy cold plateaus, you're going to need something to get you across before you freeze to death, and the Snow Fox is going to be that vehicle. It's a smaller little hover bike pretty much that you'll be able to glide around, craft and pretty much get a speed up. I do believe it can go over certain parts of water, but it is mostly for land traversal, and it looks pretty badass. It moves really good, really well. They've updated and changed it a lot during early access to make it a little bit more fluid, and it definitely will get you through some tough, challenging spots, avoiding snow stalkers and ice worms. Another new feature that's caught the eye of a lot of people is the Spy Penguin. Not a penguin, penguin. This is a new remote controlled little vehicle that you will be able to craft and get into really hard to get places, as well as sneak by some of the more dangerous creatures. It's pretty much designed to give you a little bit of extra game mechanics. You'll find certain caves that can only be accessed by him, and they'll have plenty of nice resources inside. A simple but yet nice effective addition to the game to flesh out some of the mechanics a bit more. That adds to it, maybe a little bit like the drones that we had in the first game that could explore underwater. The Spy Penguin's definitely a lot slower though. There's a huge amount of returning creatures from the first game, but lots of variants and completely brand new creatures for Below Zero. You'll come across many of the smaller fish that you've seen in the first game, but it's when you start getting to the bigger, newer creatures that things get a really little bit more scary. Creatures like the Chelicerator, the Snow Stalker, which we've seen quite a bit of in the trailers, and even big crustaceans like the Rock Thumper. And as I mentioned earlier, there's a bigger choice in smaller sharks, with the scariest one for me being this guy, the Squid Shark. But true fear lives when you go onto the land and you come up across the ice worm. No longer safe when you're out of the water, the cold frozen biomes that litter the landscape are often going to be challenging when you've got this guy maybe pumping out the ground out of nowhere. It's a good thing it's frozen, maybe the pee that's going to drip out of your leg will freeze in its spot. But don't worry, it's not all scary. There are some new creatures that you can make friends with along the way that'll actually do things and get resources for you. Creatures has always been one of the best things that this game has done, and Below Zero carries on that tradition in adding weird and wacky ones with all sorts of unique abilities and definitely lots of unique looks. I don't want to spoil it too much, but yeah, expect to be scared by all sorts of brand new creatures in Below Zero. Of course, there's all brand new equipment and some new options for crafting and making new items. There's a whole host of new suits, including the cold suit, which obviously can keep you a bit warmer, as well as the steel suit, will actually keep you refreshed by giving you water from your own sweat. Ooh. There's so many new items, including the mineral detector, you've got headlamps, you've got new rocket booster fuel tank that will give you a boost using your oxygen, quantum lockers, ground thumpers, and a lot more to help you get through this game. And of course, lots of new upgrades for your vehicles and some of your tools. There's a whole bunch of new additions you can add to your prawn suit, and particularly the sea truck is really where you're going to get a lot of new stuff. The Snow Fox will also give you new options like speed boost and stability, so expect plenty of guides from me showing you where all these upgrades are for your tools and your vehicles. And that is pretty much it. 10 things you need to know under 10 minutes about Subnautica Below Zero coming to all platforms. Hope you've enjoyed this. If you found it useful, leave me a like. Go and check out the rest of my guides, and yeah, make sure you're subscribed to the home of survival. Until next time, ratbags, I will catch you later.